Hey, welcome to the Change Energizer Hot Seat Podcast. This is the show where leaders step into the hot seat and reveal the trust decisions behind extraordinary success. I'm your host, Scott Carley, the Trust Energizer. You know, every day people make life-changing decisions based on trust. They decide who they'll hire, who they'll promote, who they'll follow, who they'll partner with, and who they'll invest in. Yet for something so essential, we've never been given a practical language to explain how trust is actually built. We say things like, well, I have a good feeling about her, or something feels off, or I just don't trust him. Those are instincts, not explanations. That's why I created the Trust Credit Score. It transforms trust from a vague gut feeling into a practical language and measurable framework. And if it can be measured, it can be adjusted. It's built around the 5 signals our brains are constantly scanning for: your presence and energy, your intentions, your values, your expertise, and your track record receipts. Just like a FICO credit score helps lenders evaluate financial confidence, the Trust Credit Score helps leaders understand, measure, and intentionally strengthen the confidence others place in them. Today, we will be debuting the Trust Credit Score app with a tutorial to help you get started using it with your team. So welcome my technology partner, Austin Boone, as we get started. Hey, thank you very much for joining us as we talk about the Trust Credit Score. And we've got a tutorial here to help you to figure out how to get into this incredible app that Austin Boone has developed for me. And Austin's my partner in this project. Austin, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
Yeah, we're going to have a great time, and let's get right into it. I just want to say a few things about the Trust Credit Score. You know, the Trust Credit Score is an app that is designed for business owners, CEOs, executive managers, coaches, HR leaders, anyone responsible for evaluating and developing people. And that's probably you, and that's why you're here. It's used to create a measurable picture of the trust others place in a leader or an employee. I mean, you've got somebody here and you're thinking, you know, they're on my team, and you're feeling one way or the other. Either, boy, this is an MVP, and I want a good excuse to give them a raise or a promotion and move them up the ladder. Or this is somebody that, man, they've got a trust fracture and something is not right, and you need to try to figure out what it is and then create a plan to get them back into character, back on the track with their responsibility and being part of the team. So Austin is going to help walk us through exactly how you use this app. And it's really simple and it's very powerful. So Austin, take it from here. I mean, they pull it up, and what is next?
Absolutely. First of all, I just wanted to say thanks, Scott. Collaborating with you on the app has been truly a pleasure. And it's nice to finally see this come to fruition. So once Scott shares either a link or a QR code for you to access the site, you'll be prompted with this landing page. Once you go to the landing page, you'll be able to see begin your trust or your TCS journey. Click on that. If you already have an account, you can log in. You can also create an account with Google or with Apple in your Face ID or your Google authentication, or you can sign up as a new user. All right, so now I'm signing up as a new user. I'm going to use one of my test emails. And create an account. Once I do that, I can fill out the name I'd like to use. And then I can select either to join an existing group or create a new group or organization. So I'm going to go ahead and select a demo organization. I'm going to add a note for the reviewer, just in case there's somebody in your organization that needs to approve which organization or sub-organization you are aligned with. Just to say, I'm just going to say this is a test. I'm going to enter the app. So
That
once
was
you enter
pretty
the app,
easy.
yeah. We try to make it super streamlined. So once you enter the app, you'll see the trust credit score disclaimer. You'll be asked to read through. It's very short and straight to the point, and acknowledge and agree. And then you're entered into the app. So just to orient you, it acknowledges that you are the user that signed in. It acknowledges your organization. There's a menu here to upgrade your plan, change your password, review disclaimer and terms. And then you can toggle between dark mode and light mode. All right. So now when you scroll down, you can start to see a little bit of information to give you some cues as you prepare to do some assessments. You'll see vibe, motives, core values, expertise, and receipts. And then you'll be able to assess your first person.
Yeah, those are the 5 signals trust is looking for. And so now you're going to get to identify those signals.
So now, before you begin, it gives you just a little bit of details about how many assessments you have for your organization. For our demo organization, we're replicating some real assessments that are going through the pipeline for an organization to really gauge and evaluate trust. So we've already conducted 32 assessments, and we've got 18 left. So you just have to acknowledge that you are going to use one of the remaining assessments, and then click Begin Assessment. And now you're prompted with, who are you assessing? So I'm going to assess Tony. Tony Awesome. He is one of my senior developers. His department is actually product. He's one of my product engineers.
Oh, that's great.
His role level is senior individual contributor. Just going to acknowledge that it's me giving him the assessment. And then there's a little rubric here before you begin. Gives you a little bit of a scoring guide here with scores from 1 through 5. 1 being rarely exhibits one of the characteristics. 5 being consistently displays those characteristics. And then where this credit score lands. So after the assessment, you'll get a numerical value that you can see arrayed against this bar graph here, from trusted plus, which is exceptional, trusted, which is solid and dependable, fragile, which is trust exists but is inconsistent and they need some work through coaching and mentorship. And then at risk, which is somebody that may be truly compromised in one of the areas and actually need some very intentional and deliberate action in order to get them right back on track where we want them to be. All right, so now we're going to continue.
Yeah, and I love all of this because, the whole point of it is just like your FICO credit score, mistakes are made and things happen, but we have to be intentional about how we're bringing employees and our team back into character if there's a fracture, or promoting them up to a higher level if they have earned that trust through the 5 areas of the trust credit score.
Absolutely. So with this assessment, I already know that I'm pretty happy with the way that Tony is performing. But we're going to go through here and look at some very unique characteristics for each one of the categories, and then give an assessment that'll help us get a clearer picture and some recommendations on how to really optimize and energize Tony. So for vibe, his presence, he shows up grounded and attentive and fully engaged. I actually believe that. And that's what he usually does. Clarity, communication, they're simple and easy to follow. To be honest, Tony is an awesome executor, but he is very kind of technical and in the weeds, very nuanced. And sometimes it's hard for people to understand his concepts. So I'm just going to say sometimes it's very easy to understand what he says. He collaborates very well. He does that often. His reputation is pretty good. So now we're going to move on to motives. He acts with genuine desire to help, not just to win. So I would say that that's actually true. He always jumps in. Candor, he always tells the truth. Win-win, he seeks outcomes for the good of everyone. I agree. He loves to see his concepts come to fruition. And then alignment, his actions constantly match stated goals and values. So when we have an organizational meeting, we're casting vision, we have a project meeting, he is always on point. So his alignment is good. I wouldn't say it's exceptional because sometimes he does take some initiatives that isn't merited.
Okay, I have a question for you. I noticed that you gave him a lot of 4s. What is 5? What is a 5 reserved for?
I would say 5 is a milestone. This is somebody that is absolutely exceptional in each one of these categories.
So don't use 5 lightly is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, don't use 5 lightly. This will be walks on water. And I would say also know that you're using this tool to actually give you some insights. So it's important that you're honest here in your assessment and your ability to leave room for growth. That'll be how you get the most value from this tool.
Now, are you scoring performance or potential?
So I'm actually scoring performance. There's a section here where we kind of give a reflection of potential, but in order to tweak, the everyday activities, the everyday output in areas where we can optimize, we've geared this towards assessing actual day-to-day performance.
Okay, that's good.
All right, so we'll go to the next. We'll continue. The next is core values. So integrity, keeps commitments. I would say that he does that often, just as much as any other employee. Fairness, transparency, and accountability. Accountability here, owns mistakes without blame shifting. I would say that this is something that we have as a challenge across the organization. Whenever there's a bug in the application or there's something that's not going right, there seems to be a little bit of banter between the dev teams and the platform team on who's responsible for implementing a fix. So I would say that we need some help here, not only for Tony, but the way that we do that in our organization.
Okay, that's good.
All right. So for expertise, this is probably where Tony kind of really shines. He is the expert. So has a real current mastery of their field. I would say that we're in an ever evolving field. So I'll say he usually has that. There's always room to grow, but he is constantly learning and taking the initiative to master his skill. Decision quality, he's good. Mentoring, this is where we have a challenge. Sometimes Tony is a do-it-yourself kind of guy. He'll begin the mentoring process, but then he kind of always ends up taking over the project. And then there's learning velocity. Again, he's very high there. All right. So next we're going to go on to receipts, demonstrated results. Has a clear record of delivering outcomes. Absolutely. Repeatability, delivers consistently, not as a one-off. Absolutely. And there's social proof. Others watch their track record. So I would say here's where we've got something we've got to think about. So he does perform very well, but he tends to take over projects. So there's kind of a taboo within our organization about projects that he's aligned with. I would say that he often has that social proof, but there's some room to work there. So I'm going to give him an often because I'd like to move him further along where people actually see his value.
Yeah, that's good.
And then next, recovery, bounces back well from setbacks and failures. Again, this goes back to that kind of I'll take it over or shifting blame. I'm going to go ahead and say that there's a 2 because we actually have some room to grow there.
That's
All
good.
right.
I like that. Thank you. So now what?
Yeah, so that's our first assessment. And what you'll see here at the final screen is that all of the different areas have been assessed based on these little breadcrumb here. You'll see a live trust credit score. You'll also see role, fit, and leadership. So I really like Tony, and I want him to move on to be a frontline manager.
Good.
This is where we assess some type of potential capability that is going to inform the rest of the feedback that we get and the recommendations for coaching.
Excellent.
So now I'm going to evaluate his leadership readiness. So I think he is an emerging leader. We really want to pour into him, and that's what led to some of my choices during the assessment. All right, so once that's done, we're going to go here down at the bottom and click Generate Scorecard.
Here it goes. Drum roll, please.
Drum roll. So now we see Tony Awesome is at a 64. Even though he is able to produce results, there are some areas where we need to make some adjustments. He's assessed as fragile right now. And if you look at the scorecard, you'll see the different areas where he was assessed at fragile. We need to work on his vibe. We need to work on some of his motives, but really that's an organizational thing as well. We need to understand the core values, how he aligns with the organizational vision, and how we can recalibrate his gifts and talents and contributions in order to ensure that they're in alignment with our core values. His expertise is very high, but there's some areas for him to grow there. And then his receipts, there are areas where we need to grow.
And how long has he been with the organization?
So Tony's been with the organization for about 10 years.
Oh, okay. Wow. So what I love about this is this shows me specifically areas that we can help Tony to work on, not just have an overall, well, you're at a 65, or 64, which is fragile. But now you can look at the specific areas and say, and I like the scores that you have up here. There's a B plus, there's a C plus, C, B minus, B minus. And so if somebody is thinking about report cards, well, you've got that look, and then you've got a numeric look as well. But now I have a better idea of where we need to help Tony when he goes to work at raising his trust credit score. I love that.
Absolutely. This is going to be a great tool. So as the assessor, review this scorecard, what you'll see is trust exists, but it's inconsistent and easily shaken. The trust credit score of 64 is fragile, but it's weighted against the pillars here. So you can kind of see the weights and the values. There's some room to grow. And this kind of gives you a breakdown of what each one of the pillars adds to the composite score. What we really want to start doing is looking at some insights, right? So First we get a reflection of where to focus next. The biggest lever is core values, really aligning his skills and talents with where the organization is going and how the organization intends to operate. Next, clarity and presence. These are both kind of vibe related. So what we're going to do is see some feedback that is specifically geared towards that. All right.
Excellent.
So again, as we look at reading the score, what we'll see here is his marker of 64 is really kind of like in that amber zone. Again, we see a reflection that he is actually fragile. And we'll start to look at the pillar breakdown again in more depth. All right, so fit for readiness, frontline manager. So based on our scores and based off the potential, we see that he is a developing fit at 86%. There's some critical accountability and needs that need to be addressed. And we'll see that for your assessment of him as an emerging leader, you'll see that they're nearly ready. So as you kind of get a little bit more context of the way that the scores and values through the assessment are actually informing really this look that we have, this picture that we have of where we're trying to coach, mentor, and guide each one of our team members.
I like
All right,
that.
Scott, so let's get into the calibrated insights.
Yeah. So Tony Awesome finds himself at a pivotal crossroads. With a composite score of 64, his trust profile is currently classified as fragile, yet he possesses undeniable natural strengths that offer a solid foundation for growth. His colleagues likely appreciate his strong sense of presence and his refreshing candor, both of which are vital for leadership. However, to successfully transition into a management role, Tony must address some significant barriers that are holding him back. Man, this is just like people we see every day. We see so many great things, but then some other gaps. The most critical gap lies in accountability. Ouch. He currently struggles to take full ownership of outcomes and lacks a proven track record of recovering gracefully from setbacks. Additionally, while he has the technical expertise, he hasn't yet translated it into active mentoring or clear collaborative communication. This is a coaching moment rather than a permanent label. I like that. I like that. I like that. By focusing on consistent follow-through and sharing his knowledge more intentionally with others, Tony can bridge these value gaps and unlock his full potential as a leader. So that's good. I like the way it articulates back. Now I get a good, clear picture of where Tony's at. So Tony displays strong interpersonal intent and presence, but his fragile trust rating is anchored by a significant deficit in core value, alignment, and accountability. And this is the diagnosed barriers we're talking about. To transition into management, he must bridge the 27-point gap in core values and address critical failures in ownership and mentorship. So you've got 4 things pointed out there: a deficit in personal accountability and ownership. See, these are things that Tony can take and he can work on those. Inconsistent clarity in communication and collaboration, lack of proven mentoring and expertise sharing, and poor track record of recovery from setbacks. Okay, great. So now Tony can help himself. We can help him in working on those 4 areas.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you this, Scott, I've worked in the IT industry and then now in the AI space, work with teams of developers. And I would say that I've got several strong teammates that are exactly Tony. And these are all areas as they move up the ladder into becoming a senior engineer, individual contributor, even a VP of application development. These are all things that I've seen consistent across our industry.
Yeah, and they don't just go away because you quit paying attention to them. Those things stay there, just like in a FICO financial credit score. It doesn't fix itself. It's up to us to be intentional about fixing those things and helping others to fix those things.
Absolutely. So
wow, you've got an improvement plan, a 30, 60, and 90-day improvement plan. I love this.
Yeah, this is a great part of the tool. So not only does it give you an assessment, it actually gives you some work to do and some recommendations on where to move next over the next 30, 60, and 90 days in order to create an actionable plan to get, tangible results. So now we've got first 30 days, you'll see here, document personal accountability standards. So we take some of that information based on the industry, based on the role, and based on the sub-organization where they fit within the role, and really calibrate this improvement plan. So create an ownership manifesto. I know that sounds pretty audacious to create a manifesto.
Sounds great.
Really, this is their digital vision board, right?
Yeah.
Okay, who do I want to be? Where am I trying to go in the organization? And what do I need to calibrate within myself in order to help handle mistakes, miss deadlines, and not shift the blame?
Austin, here's part of where I see all of this. I have a tendency to compare things with, sports. And, Somebody says, well, I want to play on the team. Okay, well, you played well in college and or high school, and let's see if you can get into college and play. Oh, okay, out of college, now you want to be in the NFL. Oh, okay. Well, here's what your score is, and here's some things that
Mhm.
you got to work on. And then once you get in that, it's okay. Well, I want to help us to win a division championship, and then a regional championship, and then a Super Bowl invitation. And
Mhm.
these are the scores that qualify you to get you up there, that you've got what it takes to, be a Tom Brady or whoever, and become a repetitive, consecutive champion. And unless we address these things, then we're held back by our own trust credit score.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that sports analogy. So
All right.
moving on to 60 days, Scott, what I see here is one, not only some things that we need to do, but start to formalize things we need to do in concert with Tony, right? We need to
Yeah.
formalize one-on-one mentoring. We need to implement a post-mortem process where we go back and actually analyze our successes and failures of every project and identify areas where we can all improve on our project team.
Yeah. So I
It-
think it's important to understand here, everything is not a DIY. It's not a do it yourself. Some things are do it yourself, but some things are going to require other people to get involved and help you to becoming the person you need to be. Somebody said this to me one time, and I think it fits here. You can't read your own label from inside the bottle. Somebody on the outside
Mm.
needs to read the label for you. And that's why this credit score coming from an outsider helps you to see things you cannot see about yourself.
Absolutely. That is really good. That is really good. You can't read your own label from inside the bottle. That's fantastic. So, so by 90 days, publicly track team commitments, launch transparent dashboard or some type of report status that will start to show you some gains that you've made with Tony over time and his impact on the organization based on those
Yeah.
optimizations.
Some of them call them KPIs,
Yeah.
key performance indicators. And that's been around the professional world for decades, KPIs.
Yeah. Key performance indicators. So now we haven't gotten a coach yet assigned to Tony. So there are no coaching observations. This is our very first assessment. So let's go ahead and view the assessment report.
Ooh, drum roll.
All right. So now we're able to have this PDF download that allows us to prepare for different counseling sessions, engagements, tools that you can use to draft emails, shows you where Tony lands on the bar graph, gives some explanations here. This progress over time will continue to increment over every assessment. So you as the assessor will be able to see that Tony went from 64 to 75 to 85, and you can kind of see how the results of your action plan, your improvement plan are actually impacting Tony's assessments over time.
Yeah. And I want to point out something also. If you look just a minute, you see that, the red is at risk. I mean, this is like a trust crash. And this is somebody that I'm not sure recovery is going to be the thing. But in fragile, this is still a recovery area where people can be mentored, can be recovered and move forward. And so they are still trusted. It's just a fragile trust. So I think that's important to understand. Put in the right circumstances with the right motivation and willingness, people can change and do change. And so we want to give them that opportunity, and then it's up to them to decide. And if they don't make the adjustments and changes, then they're not a part of the team.
No, that is great. And then hopefully you're also using this tool with other teammates within the organization, and you can start to see some form of a stratification of how the improvement plan is impacting each individual, because you may actually identify some latent talent inside of each one that may identify them as somebody that is also an emerging leader. So on this worksheet that's downloadable, you also get some diagnose barriers, the same ones that we saw on your screen, and then some discussion prompts that you can have during your one-on-one discussions. If you'd like, you can turn this into a counseling session that also provides some form of signature or acknowledgement that this is part of the improvement plan and that this is a scoring tool that you'd like to use moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Now, I want to go back right there to coaching observations. So, Austin, why don't you put in some coaching observations that you've made, just some ideas put in there, and let's see what AI does with it.
Okay. All right. Tony is a.
So this is a great place to put in your observations and specifics that you want to articulate. And then AI helps to translate some of what you just put in from a conversation into where it fits in those 5 signals that trust is looking for. And so details about, something that you observed and something that you notice about him, his response is really important because AI can't respond to stuff you don't feed it. And so as much as you can feed it details, then that's critical.
Okay, thanks for that, Scott. As you were talking, what you see here is I added a couple of coaching observations. These are just my own, maybe not anything close to what you would put as a coach, but I would say he's got a do-it-yourself attitude because of the shifting team dynamic. I'm able to see that over the last year. They've had several team shifts. So I'm going to add this note because it is the first observation. Oh, and you can see here, because I'm not the coach, I hope you saw the snack bar, but because I'm not the coach, I'm not actually allowed to modify this coach's observations yet.
Okay.
That's something that we added in here so that you can actually see that this isn't something that the assessor does, but you will be able to see the coach's notes once they are input by a validated coach.
Somebody who's authorized as a coach can get into this and make some coaching notes. And so more than one person can access this, but it also has privacy areas too, right?
Absolutely.
So one of the things that was my vision for this is to create a simple tool for a person to evaluate a team member, somebody in your downline, or even somebody in your upline, and be able to understand why you feel the way you do. Trust is usually a gut feeling, and the trust credit score gives us a way to calibrate a gut feeling into measurable terms. And if something is measurable, then it's something you can improve on. So, Austin, that was great. That was a great tool. And now that you as the user have done an assessment with the trust credit score, you go back later. And when you have finished it with your whole team, you have 8 or 15 people in there, and it will give you a team trust credit score. So you can see how your team rates. One person doesn't win a Super Bowl. It takes an offense and a defense to win a Super Bowl. And so now you have a tool. You have a tool that you can use, and collectively working together behind an aligned vision, man, the sky's the limit. Oh, wait a minute. Mars is the limit. Where do you want to go with this?
All right, Scott. So what you can see here now is there is a coaching note here for Tony. It says that Tony's a great asset. He's definitely a leader on the team. He has a do-it-yourself mentality due to multiple turnovers in personnel. He's very coachable and enthusiastic.
Oh, now that's really important. he has a do-it-yourself mentality due to multiple turnovers in personnel. Now that explains some things. Um, and maybe with longevity of teams, that will he can wane away from that, and now he has trust that others will know what they're doing. I like that. All right, what does it show us?
All right. So now that there is actually a coaching note in here, we can click on generate.
Ooh, drum roll.
And it's going to take those insights from yourself as the assessor and the feedback from the coach to give you a deeper perspective and a greater picture on where Tony actually sits right now. So, Scott, what do you see here?
It says Tony is a highly motivated, coachable leader who possesses strong relational intent, yet currently operates in a fragile trust state due to an over-reliance on individual execution. While his enthusiasm is high, he is struggling to transition from a do-it-yourself survival mode into a strategic mentor who delegates and clarifies expectations for his team. Then I see it has some recurring themes: individualist versus collaborative, high discretionary effort, low scalability, institutional knowledge retention, relational warmth versus operational clarity, and then coach's recommendations, shift from a doer to a mentor. Oh, I love that. Defined accountability framework, practice transparency recovery, strengthen collaborative presence. Wow. 4 really good coaching recommendations. I love that.
Absolutely. And as more coaching sessions and assessments are conducted using this tool, each one of these insights here and coaching recommendations will actually begin to kind of aggregate and then create a full picture that is analyzed, that provides one, a clear picture from where you started to where the growth and maturity has arisen. And then also some areas where it gives you actionable insights, right? What are we trying to get? So going back to your KPI conversation, hey, we can actually measure how much of a doer and how much of a mentor Tony is. We
Yeah.
can say, hey, how accountable is he now? And then we can also have a measurement of how is he able to recover based on these protocols that have been developed for admitting project setbacks and recovery. So I think this is a great tool. I wish I had something like this when I was a young developer.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I see something that is extremely helpful in developing people and understanding in a measurable way, not a gut feeling, but a measurable way where they are and where their strengths and where their gaps are. So this is great. So
Absolutely. And
yeah.
I think this is great. And what you'll see here on the report, I went back again. What you see here on the report is that the coach's insights aren't included on the report. What you'll see is just a coaching narrative, but you won't see like individual things that may be, kind of only for the assessor to see. So
Okay,
on
good
here, this
idea.
gives you just enough to have a conversation with Tony and then keep, things that are private between the coach and the leader private.
Yeah, I love that. I
All
love
right.
that.
So lastly, I'm just going to go back to the top here to my dashboard. And what you'll see here is I've got one assessed person who's Tony Awesome on my team. I can see a reflection of his score. I can see that he's fragile, and I can see that we've done one assessment. When I'm ready to go back and assess Tony, I can click on Tony, get a recap of his assessments, his coach's notes. As we run multiple assessments at a time, you'll be able to see a graph here that kind of shows the progress that Tony has made. And then most importantly, I can reassess by clicking this reassessment button here at the top, and it'll take me back into the assessment. So now I can actually go through, I'll see what the last values were, and
Oh,
then I can
great.
score where he has grown in each category.
Yeah, now, yeah, that's great.
So I'm just going to go ahead and just increase him in a couple additional areas. So through our conversations over the last 30 days, he's increased in his clarity. He has increased in his collaboration, but it's not enough to change yet. And his reputation is still steady. Intent, candor, and win-win are all still the same. But I would say that now his values are actually more aligned with the organization.
Good.
I would say that he operates with a little bit more integrity because he's starting to take ownership, not only of his individual output, but the productivity of the team. And his accountability is increased.
Wow, he's moving up the chart.
Absolutely. Based on the tools that we've implemented for accountability, the postmortems, the project team meetings, he has actually, through those mechanisms, moved more into the mentoring realm. And then now, not only is his ability to recover better, but the entire team's ability to recover has increased.
Good.
So now you can see that Tony's moved up to a 70 and he's trusted.
Yes.
I still see that he's a frontline manager, an emerging leader. And let's go ahead and generate another score. So now he is trusted. I can open up some metrics here and I can see, hey, Tony's trusted. He's on glide path to increase and get exactly where we need to be.
Yeah,
His
up by
latest score
6
70.
points.
He's gone up 6 points. Everybody loves data. Now we can look at his radar chart and see exactly where he has done those increases. This is a great tool to just get a snapshot of where Tony is. And then I'll just scroll through here real quick, Scott. You can see right now, man, Tony's cooking. He's got some B's and A's.
A's and B's.
he is pretty much moved up to being an honor roll student. So now his fittedness for being a frontline manager is starting to increase. He is a very strong fit due to this 93% rating here. And you can see that he is ready to be an emerging leader.
Yeah. By just changing a few things categorically in his trust credit score, he moved up 95%. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
And that's the whole reason we created this.
Absolutely, Scott. I just love the way that this is all coming together. So you'll get those calibrated insights. We could just read the first sentence here. It says, Tony stands as a promising threshold entering the trust band with a strong foundation for leadership. I would say that this would be a win, not only for Tony, but for the organization, because we've done some organizational engineering here, right? So now there are new processes and procedures in the organization that not only optimize Tony, but they're optimizing teams.
Yeah. Yeah. So still barriers. There's still things to work on. We didn't just, think that he's got a golden crown. There's still things to work on. His vibe scores in clarity and collaboration suggest a struggle. He's still got some things to work on. So, we stay in the game. We're not finished.
Absolutely. And just remember, there was a 30, 60, and 90-day improvement plan, right? So as you are going through this 90 days, let's just say the second assessment came after the first 30 days, there are still things to work on. So as you start to mark these things off, you can see your progress on the improvement plan. And there's still some areas where we need to tweak. So as you go throughout this pipeline here, you will start to see scores rising. You'll start to see these output and diagnose barriers changing. And you'll be able to map those directly to activities that you have put in place in order to energize your organization.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are behaviors. Change your behavior. You can't talk yourself out of a problem you have behaved yourself into, but you can behave yourself back into trust, and often faster than you think. This is fantastic, Austin. Thank you so much. You took a dream of mine and you put it into an app, and I am just so deeply appreciative for that. And for every one of you that are out there who are going through this for the first or second or third time, man, get to work and just use it. It is a tool for you to help your team win a Super Bowl, to really, take them to the next level, take them up. And at the same time, it's a tool when you see a fracture and you're just scratching your head on something's wrong. This is a tool to help you recognize that fracture and then either get people going, or maybe it's time for them to move on to another place. So Austin, man, I just can't tell you how much I appreciate your skill and your intelligence and your vision and willingness to work with me as we, put this, can I trust you? And, you're hitting all the marks with me.
Oh, thank you so much, Scott. It's been a pleasure, and I've grown a lot through going through this process with you. So I'm hoping that it's an enriching experience for everybody else. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody.